Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I love playing tennis. To get good at tennis, you have to practice a lot. And you must have heard of the phrase, practice makes perfect. Well, I used to have a tennis coach who didn't agree with that. He used to say, practice makes permanent. Practice makes perfect when you use the proper technique. If you want to be a good speaker, you have to practice a lot. You got to use vocal variety, you got to use gestures, you got to pause. But if you just practice, all you're doing is baking in your habits. Now, if you happen to have a good mentor, he or she can become a catalyst in improving your speaking skills. And she can do it, he or she could do it very rapidly. When I joined the club in 2007, we did not have a formal mentorship program as we have today. As a new member, I struggled. I used to deliver 3 to 4 speeches a year, and I really felt I wasn't getting anywhere. But after one speech, there was a gentleman sitting way at the back of the room. You know, he used to sit way at the back and really stern face. He asked me to meet him in his basement. You know who the man is who sits at the back of the room? Jim Dawson. I had just delivered a speech, and Jim wanted to, and it was a vacation we had taken as a family to Italy, and he wanted me to deliver the speech again. Now, in that speech, there was a section which described Venice at night. Oh, by the way, Venice at night is beautiful. And oh, so romantic. So it went something like this, if I recall. So as I was standing on the Rialto Bridge, I could see the reflections of the lights of the city on the dark, lazy waters of the canal. And in the distance, I could hear the soft laughter and people's conversation, enjoying themselves in the outdoor cafes. The quiet eloquence of the evening, only disturbed by the occasional buzzing of a water taxi cruising down the canal. Jim stopped me right there. And he says, you're not saying that with enough emotion. Now I looked at Jim and said, what do you want me to do? He says, you got to feel what you're saying. So he made me repeat those lines, and I didn't meet his standards. So he says, here's a task for you. You go home, you write a few descriptive phrases, and I want you to say it with a lot of feeling. Jim, what was Jim doing? He was coaching me on the techniques of vocal variety. I remember another time, a few years later, probably a couple of years later, you remember the 2008 financial crisis? And I had researched that material. I like stuff like that, finding out what went wrong. So I figured out I had all this material. I wanted to share this with the club. Topic for a good speech, good informational speech. So I packed in 15 minutes of material in 7 minutes of speech. And after the speech, I walked over, you know where? Back of the room to ask Jim, oh, what do you think of the speech? Jim looked at me and said, Kumar, you cannot educate an audience in 7 minutes. You can only make them aware. So don't try to put in so much information. You may want to take some out. If you notice something there, Jim didn't tell me what to take out. That was up to me. He was just giving me direction. The Jim was mentoring me in the organization of a speech. He was not coaching me. So coaching is very different from mentoring. Coaching is hands-on. Like Jim was coaching me about vocal variety, specific skills, making me do certain things. On the other hand, when he was mentoring me, all he was mentoring me was on speech organization, giving me some advice. They're two different things. So one gives direction, and the other teaches you how to drive. Now, as a mentor, very often you may have to do both. You may have to coach your mentee, depends on the needs of the person. But I will say this, if I had not been rescued by Jim mentoring me, I probably would have quit the club in frustration. And guess what? Many of you guys would have missed out on Scotch night. So you should be glad he was there. Being mentored really helped me develop as a speaker much faster. But that's only one aspect of our life. It's vitally important to have a mentor in your career. You need it for your professional development. See, I was fortunate to have a few. I remember about 20 years ago when I started my business, I met a gentleman by the name of Mike Schaefer. He was a savvy entrepreneur and a businessman. And we clicked. I used to meet with him at Starbucks over a cup of coffee every month. I would tell him my problems and we would exchange business ideas. Now, Mike was an excellent sales guy, lots of training in sales. Well, I had zero training in sales, but I started a business. And so I had to grow it rapidly. And the best way I could have done it with Mike coaching me. Mike taught me a lot. So mentors make a huge difference in what you do. So if you want to fast track your learning at Toastmasters and at work and become a star, having a mentor is a must. And here's the best part, mentors are free. That makes it priceless. So if you don't have a mentor, please go find yourself one. Madam Toastmaster.
Kumar, please take a minute and